basically right along that gust front that you've been talking about, Hutch. That's where the strong winds are, and it is a wall of red and black dust from all of the fields that's been getting kicked up. It's quite impressive,
okay,
to say the least.
Well, thank you for your report, Eric Whitehill, on the county line there between Grand Forks County and Steele County down to the south. And that is, he was talking about a gust front. I drew a blue line on here representing the gust front along that green feature you see on the radar. And then the outflow from that would be from the west-northwest. That's the gust and wind that's kicking up the dirt and the debris. And thank you so much, Eric Whitehill, for your report there. He's calling it a haboob. It's a dust storm. You can't see. The visibility is zero. And he's talking about he has to go to the east. He can't go in and look and watch for tornadoes because it's a wall of dust. He can't see anything. It's a safety issue. So he's staying ahead of the dust storm out here and is unfortunately unable to confirm or see what's going on with the storm here. For that, we'll have to rely on other ears and eyes on the storm. Now, notice that the pink box down here near Northwood has disappeared. 6 o'clock hour right now, and the tornado warning for the Northwood area has been canceled as the rotation not as evident. That's good news number one. But we are concerned greatly about Grand Forks right now because this haboob that's being caused along the Steele County line with the Grand Forks County line and moving off to the east at a clip of about 35 to 45 miles per hour is kicking up dust and debris, and it's moving into Grand Forks. And as we've shown you, you got the Grand Forks Fair going on out there. I'll see if the Skycam is still on that feature right there. That's Grand Forks, and we'll kind of point around a little bit here to get back in that same direction. We're just looking to see if we get the evidence of the very gusty straight line winds coming into town here. So yeah, it looks like it is. So we've got some darkening skies in Grand Forks. I'm going to go ahead and do a scan real quick so you can see. Okay, this is an interesting feature too. Right, so as we're looking kind of at a more northerly direction right here, you see that? That is called a roll cloud, and roll clouds are associated with the outflow. They kind of roll out ahead of the storm, the thunderstorm, the main thunderstorm back in the distance. But there is that feature that's showing up on the radar, is that faint green line. That's a roll cloud. That's associated with the gusty winds that are going to be moving into Grand Forks here in just a few moments. So we're starting to see this approach Grand Forks right now. I got to say that the tornado part of the storm is not moving into Grand Forks, but the gusty straight line winds have the potential to have a real mule kick to them. They are kicking up some serious dust in southern Grand Forks County, and those winds are causing a dust storm, or what we call in meteorology a haboob. And you know, it's amazing with as much rain as we've gotten lately that we're kicking up as much dust with these storms as you're seeing. Here's the fairgrounds. We notice the rides are kind of void of people, and that's a good sign. It won't be long before that gust front pushes its way right into Grand Forks right now. And whether or not it's as strong as what's hitting the southern part of your county, best bet is to put safety first. There it is. See that cloud, that flat worm-looking cloud? That's called a roll cloud. It's a roll cloud if it's not attached to the parent thunderstorm, so I do not believe that it is. I think that's rolling out ahead of the storm. And a feature that we look for on the radar for that would be a separate green line from the main storm. And see this separate green line that's blowing out ahead of the storm? There's one here, okay? There's Griggs County. You're getting a gust front blowing through. There's Steele County. As we just spoke with Eric, he's on the Steele County line with Grand Forks County right here. That is causing a dust storm there. And we have more storms off to the west that are blasting their way in. And again, Grand Forks right here. I'm going to pause this and we're going to go in real quickly. Okay, so Grand Forks, what we're looking at on the edge of town is showing up right here. This green, light green, it looks like nothing, right? That is causing that little roll cloud that you saw. That's rolling out ahead of the parent thunderstorm. That's back here behind this. The warning is in effect until 6:30. A tornado is possible with this destructive thunderstorm. The orange box, we're not talking about the pink box back here. That is a tornado warning. We could still see a possible tornado from any spin-ups from the gusty wind. Here's that outflow. It is literally on the doorstep of the Grand Forks area. So as the crow flies from the center of town, let's go right to the Red River Bridge between Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. Literally it's 4 miles. Okay, 4 miles moving at 40 miles per hour. It's going to be right in town here in the next couple of minutes. And as it does, it may indeed kick up some dust and debris, and you may notice a significant drop in your temperatures in Grand Forks. So as we look, Mike, what was the temperature in Grand Forks just a little bit ago? Was it like 80?
Yes.
Yeah, so we've gone down 75 degrees as the gust front has gone through the airport part west of town, right? So you've lost 5 to 10 degrees of temperature there in Grand Forks in just the last few minutes. In fact, I guess I could roll it back just a little bit. Before the gust front came through, there we go, 84. Boom, down to 75. So you're going to notice a significant drop in temperatures in Grand Forks and East Grand Forks here in the next couple of minutes as this storm works its way through. I just saw a lightning flash on the sky cam there to the west of Grand Forks right now. And again, this could be the leading edge of some very, very strong and potent gusty straight line winds as they come through town. So we're watching that for Grand Forks, for East Grand Forks. If you are in Emerado, there was Larimore Tornado that was spotted on the ground, and that little bite out of the storm. Nathan, did you have some information?
The signal is a bit more reliable now. He's getting back closer to town.
Oh, okay. Hey, let's go ahead and take Eric Whitehill's video. Do we know exactly what road he's on? He's on the county line. Okay, so I believe he's moving east to get out ahead of that storm. Is that right?
East as fast as he can, yeah.
He's going east as fast as he can to get away from that haboob in the gust front. So we're not even looking into the dust storm. He's trying to race out of its way, reposition, and give us a shot. So that's what Eric's doing. He's heading east along the county line, Grand Forks and Steele County, as he's working his way back in that direction so he can safely observe what is coming his way. That's Eric Whitehill. Now, as we look back at the radar, we can see where he's at. The tornado warning was just trimmed off by the National Weather Service. It still does include areas near Emerado, but Larimore is no longer in the tornado warning. We still have this little area here where the bite is taken out of the storm, and that is just to the east of the Larimore area right now. As we take a gander at the velocities in that for our viewers in Grand Forks, right here, again, we're seeing this all green. That's a good sign. It's all unidirectional, but it's super strong winds that are blowing toward the radar here. Okay, that's kicking up all of the dust and the debris that Eric Whitehill is looking through, and that is blowing towards Grand Forks. It's blowing through Northwood now and on its way into northern parts of Steele and Trail counties. But the good news is we have not heard a confirmation of a tornado on the ground here. The bad news is real hard to see, right? We've got rain, we've got hail, and we've got dust getting kicked up all across Grand Forks and now northern Grand Forks County into Marshall County, Minnesota. Griggs, Steele, and Trail County starting to see the leading edge of this heading in toward the Mayville area. So there is a warning here now for a considerable thunderstorm warning that does include Steele and Trail counties as well as we see these storms continuing to progress down to the south and east. We were mentioning moments ago, if you kind of look at this thing and loop it, sometimes you have to do that just to get a feel for what's going on. And this little area up here, notice that there's some counterclockwise spin right here that's moving off to the east. And then you have this feature down here that's kind of a straight line developing. So our storm is becoming a little bit more linear, but it is a cluster of many, many, many individual thunderstorms. Okay, so outflow boundary has blown through Findlay or is blowing through Findlay now. That's this faint green line. Your winds will be now switching from southerly to a west-northwesterly flow. You likely will notice a temperature drop. You'll likely notice a wall of dust. And Eric Whitehill's video now, I'm not sure what town he's going through. Check this out. If we can pull up Eric Whitehill's video, it is very, very gusty and dusty off to the left side. And I think he's just kind of turning around now so he can get us a view of what's going on in the storm. Not sure what road he just turned off on there. Let's see what town. Yes. Let's go to our sky cam. Let me pull that up. Thanks, Mike Morgan. I appreciate that. So we're starting to see some low clouds. We're starting to see some shaking of the camera. Thanks, Mike. And this is what's making its way right into Grand Forks. There's the fair. Is it Greater Grand Forks Fair? As it's working its way into town. Oop, this is, there's Grand Forks right there. There's that cloud we've been tracking. Okay, so that cloud there is the, and lightning too, cue the lightning. That's a roll cloud. That's associated with the outflow from the thunderstorm that's caused by all the rain and hail back behind it. And that's pushing out a burp of wind that's forming this cloud. And that cloud forms right along the boundary of that gust front that we drew out for you. I don't see a wall of dust here that's moving into Grand Forks. That's good. But there are some very stout winds and potentially strong winds that will be heading into town from that feature as it works its way in. I will go ahead and scan across the skies too as we have it trained in on town. I want to see the leading edge down to the south. Eric was mentioning a red sky, and boy, when you kick up a lot of dust, that can happen where it scatters a lot of red towards us. Let's see here, we got a little lowering there. Mike was pointing out a couple of those things at the wall there. And as we look off in a more northerly direction now, we are just making sure that we're not missing an area of the storm. Severe thunderstorm warning, Polk, Norman, Barnes, Cass. Okay.
Extending that one further south.
That's a huge warning. Yeah. Okay, so there is that cloud. We've been watching that cloud on the radar as a faint green line. It's approaching the Grand Forks area right now. Eric Whitehill is reporting an all-out dust storm taking place along the county line. That's blowing into the Griggs, Steele, and Trail County areas as we speak. And we have a new warning that's been issued, and I'll show you where Cass County is included in this. A tornado warning does continue for areas just off to the west of Grand Forks. So the little pink box that you see in the middle, that is the tornado warning. It's in effect until 6:30 or for the next 19 minutes. This leading edge of storms, and this was a confirmed tornado a while ago as it made its way through Larimore, and then it's passed through Emerado, and now it's pushing its way in towards Grand Forks. Have not heard details of anything on the ground lately. That is good news. Very gusty straight line winds evident by this backward C shape as well as the faint green lines we've been showing you on the high definition radar. This is the new warning here. That extends all the way down to Hillsboro here. As I back up just a little bit, you can see it's well in advance of the storm. So it's covering a lot of counties here from Crookston through Hillsboro and Mayville and then off into the Hope Page area. So we're going to carry this until the storm makes its way into Grand Forks, making sure Grand Forks is okay and our tornado warning is expired. That's my plan to the control room. And then as we go through, yes? Skycam? Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to toss it to Mike Morkin here real quickly.
I just want to make an observation, Hutch. And if you can move that Skycam of Grand Forks back to where the fair was.
Yeah.
As I've been watching it over the last several minutes, let's see, we're over to right here. Okay, move right in here. When we first started our coverage, this Ferris wheel was lit up, and there were a great deal of cars parked over here. And now, if you pull back just a little bit, I can tell you that all of the cars have gone. So bottom line is, thanks to your words of maybe a dangerous situation, people seem to be heeding your warnings, and they are apparently gone home at least to try and wait out this storm so they're not in any sort of trouble. It looks like the storm. We have not received any confirmed word about the fair or anything like that, but I can tell you this, things have cleared out in this area, which is good news, and that nobody's in trouble.
Friday night racing is canceled at the fair tonight.
We are just been told that Friday night racing at the fair has been canceled. So again, precautionary steps being taken as a result of the weather that's passing through. That's what I wanted to get in on it. Hutch, back to you.
All right, yeah, that's a great observation, Mike. Thank you so much. And our team coverage continues here as a line of not only potentially tornadic storms, but very strong straight line wind storms. And now we're hearing words of a haboob, but let's take Eric Whitehill's video one more time here as we watch that real quick, because we'll get back to Grand Forks. This thing is really blasted into Grand Forks, and it is very difficult or easy to see how much dust is being kicked up by this storm as he's racing his way across county roads there to stay ahead of the very gusty straight line winds. It's kicking up all this dust and dirt and debris. And I'm assuming he's still on the county line there with the Grand Forks County area as well as Steele County, but he's making some headway possibly a little bit closer to I-29. So new thunderstorm warning that does not include Fargo, but it includes northwestern parts of town. Let's go back to the Skycam here. Okay, thank you. Have help. got eyes everywhere. And if you have eyes and you have photos to share, here comes the dust. Okay, so you're looking west-northwest. The wind's just shifted in Grand Forks right now. That roll cloud that we've been talking about on the air here is making its way through. It's pushing through, and here comes the gusty straight-line winds. And we'll get some wind reports here for you as we go through momentarily, but I'm not going to take this off. If you want to scan the skies there, Nathan, that would be fantastic. So Grand Forks now, you can see the dust and debris getting kicked up by the gusty winds from this straight-line wind event. And those clouds up there, if you just watch them, they're swirling around in this. What is that? Okay, that right there, but near that elevator is kind of a real dark lowering, and yeah, right there. Let's watch that. So attached to the thunderstorm base, you got a lowering of the cloud base, and that's called a wall cloud, if that's what this is. If it's rotating, that's pretty dangerous. And now, this isn't necessarily the type of a storm that, boy, those are getting kind of low, aren't they? Let's watch it for just a second. You're looking more on the north direction of Washington Street there from our home of economy view. You're looking kind of north of the home of economy location. These clouds are very, very low to the ground. Takes a trained eye to watch a wall cloud like this and see if there's rotation or spin in it, but those are very, very, very low to the ground, folks. I think it would be wise for you to seek shelter, interior, sturdy structure, staying away from windows. That sure look, Nathan, does your eye see rotation in that? It's hard to tell, but it does look like it's spinning a little.
It's hard to tell.
Yeah. So we've got a lowering of the cloud base. It's almost scraping on the ground here, okay? We've got dust and debris getting kicked up in town all over the place from this as this blows its way through. You're looking from the home of economy rooftop here. You're looking north towards the elevators there, and you're looking basically at this lowering of the cloud base. Here's the thunderstorm's main cloud base. Boom, that dives down to the ground. What happens is as that gust front blows through, it's lifting the warm, humid air, causing a cloud to form. And if there's rotation in that cloud, then that would be a rotating wall cloud, and that oftentimes can lead to a tornado. Just keep scanning, Nathan, and see what we see as we dash around the skies. We don't want to miss nothing. There's another lowering. See that? Oh, look at the dust and debris getting kicked up there. Likely noisy in Grand Forks right now as this storm blasts its way through. Tree damage is going to be possible. Let's see if I can find any wind information. I'm going to pull that up over here.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, what did you say, Nathan?
There's some birds, they're trying to fly through it.
Oh, the birds are going. There's a lowering of the cloud base that's right there. You got nasty looking clouds. You can almost see the sheets of dust and dirt working from the left side of the screen to the right. Can you keep panning left for me, Nathan? Just look how low that cloud is. That thing is like sitting on the ground. Let's stay on that. Yeah, back out just a little bit on that.
That's as zoomed out as I can get.
Okay. That is a very, very low cloud. On the north side of Grand Forks from the home of economy location there, not far from, looking kind of northward along Washington Street. That thing is practically laying on the ground right now. I don't see any spinning on that. So sometimes when we get a cloud that's low like this, and if it's attached to the parent thunderstorm, that's one thing, that's more dangerous. But if it's detached like this one looks like it would be, I call that an SLC. Scary looking cloud. And indeed, this fits the bill. It does not look like it's attached to the parent storm. So that is just a scary looking cloud. We're watching it for several minutes here, or several seconds here, I should say, and it's not spinning or rotating. But boy, is that thing is so close to the ground, shaving the ground there as we take a look at that. Go ahead and, if you're zoomed out, go ahead and continue to pan across the area and see maybe back toward the fair and what's going on the west side of town. Is it clearing up? Just keep rolling around, Nathan. Okay, a little lowering right there. And what we look for in a thunderstorm, by the way, when we're viewing visually, we're looking for this, a flat a base of the cloud with no rain underneath it, okay? And that would usually indicate the updraft part of the storm. But obviously the happening part of the storm is with that gust front that's blowing along that Nathan was just on. I've just continued around the full circle there as we carry it through. The thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm, is blowing its way through Grand Forks and East Grand Forks right now. Some low, very, very low clouds kissing the ground out there, particularly on the north side of town. And as he is scanning the skies here, this is just getting confirmation that we definitely have some stout winds. Grand Forks' latest report that I'm seeing are gusts to, it shows 36 miles per hour on my computer right here. Thunderstorm taking place right now, and there's that low cloud. That would, look at that. That's the one we're watching there. That thing is just mighty low, isn't it? That's a mighty low cloud. Let's get to the radar here and take a gander at what is going on with our latest warnings. The tornado warning was in effect until 6:30 for Grand Forks County. As Nathan, you holler if you see anything on that. You guys, thank you for letting me know. The tornado warning does continue. As we take a look here and looking at the radar data as we zoom in just a little closer, we're looking for areas that have a bite taken out of it like that. This whole area of thunderstorm activity, man, you just saw those low clouds moving through the north side of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks. Here they are. We do have a little cutout in the storm right there. That's not necessarily a tornado, but it could indicate some rotation up in the cloud at level. But see all these little appendages coming out from the storm? Those are all areas that we would be watching very carefully. This activity is moving southeast. This activity here is moving more towards northern and western parts of Polk County, up in the northwestern quadrant there, near Warren and over Oslo for the last little bit. And check this out. See the green line here? This is what we just watched blast through Grand Forks. Now it's pushing into Reynolds, okay? Now it's pushing into Mayville. So that is a roll cloud rolling out ahead of the storm and the gust front, and that's where we may see some very gusty winds. That's likely what Eric Whitehill is continuing to negotiate with his trek through the storm to keep his eyes on what has turned into a dust storm, a haboob. And your split screen there is incredible. If you want to take that for a little bit, that's good. It's showing us Eric Whitehill driving through, as well as what's going on with Grand Forks. And oh wow, yeah, there's just a lot of wind going through right now. Let's get a look at the velocity as in the spin along this leading edge here, where we see these. But I'll tell you what, it does look like we have what's called an outflow dominant storm here. We've got very, very strong outflow here where we see these bright green colors. Not far from the Mayville radar. We had the Reynolds area outflow boundary. It's kind of faintly showing up here as little green blips on the radar screen. So that means there is some velocity there to that. And when we look into the bright green area and look for what kind of winds are blowing in, let's share a little bit of science with you a little bit, not too sciencey. But the radar beam is pointing up towards Grand Forks, and we're not seeing any colors indicating strong winds aloft. But the winds blowing through Grand Forks are this way. So when they're across the beam like that, you won't measure any wind because it's not blowing toward the radar. The radar can only measure the winds that are blowing exactly towards or exactly away from the radar. So that's a trick. And that's why a radar can only be so useful in situations like this. The radar south of town, pointing north, it can't see east-west winds very good that are going through Grand Forks. So we're not able to gauge those wind speeds there. We did get the measurement at the airport of around 36 miles per hour as the storm blew through, which doesn't seem like that's too bad at all. But what we're seeing Eric Whitehill drive through is considerably more significant. Good news. Looks like the tornado warning has been allowed to be canceled. It's been canceled. We're going to highlight the situation, and we're going to get to a little bit of a break here. Grand Forks, gusty straight line winds continue. We have considerable and destructive language from the National Weather Service, with tornado possible language from the National Weather Service on these storms that are making their way through as we speak. The warning that this is pointing to now, including North Grand Forks County, includes Grand Forks, East Grand Forks, and Northwest Polk County, and portions of, well, that would be Marshall County, Minnesota, and Walsh County. This big area, 80 mile per hour wind gusts, the main threat. This storm is now pushing east. It's moving at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. Gusty straight line winds and destructive straight line wind potential, not for everybody, but in isolated spots where we get those gusts. On the south flank of the storm, kind of trailing back towards Griggs County here and out towards Foster, Eddy County, as well as Stutzman County, you can see the outflow boundaries from those as well. That means they're kicking out some winds of their very own. These are more moving in a direction this way, towards the FM area, towards Mayville right now. So These storms here will continue on their trek. They're moving at about 35 miles per hour, as I'll double check my information here. So the line of storms that's making its way through there moving southeast at 30 miles per hour now is the latest measurement. So these are going to continue their way toward the Highway 200 corridor, and across that, we're going to track these. We have Eric Whitehill out there tracking this haboob and the situation with the dust storm being kicked up. Tornado possible warning is on a lot of these warnings, particularly the one that's in the Grand Forks area right now. It's also, whoops, sorry about that. My computer is tired of me, probably as you may be. We have Cooperstown to Findlay. This bright box is also a considerable thunderstorm warning, tornado possible. That is until 6:45. 70 mile per hour winds from these storms blowing right into Cooperstown now. Will be into Findlay momentarily. So we'll time that out for you. If you are in the path of this leading edge of storms here, Cooperstown, Findlay moving southeast, 35 miles per hour. Cooperstown, 637, Thompson, 653, and Mayville by 7:05. And then it will continue to move beyond that as we go through the evening. I'm going to take a break. We'll gather more information, and we'll be back. Valley News Live does continue here. But for now, meteorologist Hutch Johnson joining you. Stay in your shelters until the storms pass. A lot of wind and tornadoes are possible from this as they blow their way through. Till next time, stay tuned, and as always, stay safe.
For continuous weather coverage, download the free Valley News Live weather app.